Om. 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 Saishwaraya vidmahi Satyadevaya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya vidmahi Satyadevaya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya vidmahi Satyadevaya dhimahi Tanna sarva prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam everyone. Welcome once again to yet another week of the Sai Govind Satsangh series. Our pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan for giving us these beautiful experiences. And here we are looking forward to yet another week of learning from none other than our own brother Venkat here. We had last week, and it was so beautiful, so many reminiscences, so many lessons that we learned, and he couldn't finish, so we requested him for a part 2. And maybe at the end of this session, maybe we may request him for a part 3, I don't know. We'll have to wait and watch. But for all of us are familiar with Brother Venkat, but if there is anybody new today, Brother Venkat has been in the Sai fold since childhood, having been part of the Balvikas and visits to Parthi and Seva, bhajans, SSC, every wing that Swami has created for us, and continues to devote his life to the Sai mission today, and has been painstakingly conducting the Sai Govind Satsangh series. So we look forward to listening to you, Brother Venkat, today. And off to you then. Thanks a lot. Sai Ram.
Hi Ramana, thank you. Praying to Swami to give me the strength to run through this session. All I can say is every week, each one of us sitting through this satsang have had so much of learning, so much to look back and introspect at the end. And I'm sure each one of us go back with the feeling of how blessed we are to be walking this planet the same time as the Lord did. So let me go straight into the continuation of last week. So my journey, as I said, started with this inquisitiveness to understand the beauty of sound, the Nada Brahman, and that materialized through Balvikas, where the fundamentals were set. Blessed to get opportunities to sing in front of Swami, wanting to be a student, and then Swami deciding, you are a student wherever you are. And despite all the monkey mind doing its tricks of trying to stay away from him when matters go wrong, Swami ensures that the moment you are in his fold, he doesn't forsake us at any given point of time. And that brought me back to Prashanti at a very, very important phase of my life where things could have gone south. But Swami brought me to his Prashanti, giving me Prashanti through that process of just being in his company, being in his presence. And so, after this journey that has taken me from Coimbatore to Malaysia to the UK and then back to India, I had to move on to my next phase where I had to go to the Netherlands. But before that, you see, Swami gives you experiences not just through yourself, but also through people around you. And I was blessed to have my younger brother join Vrindavan in the year 1994. Although we both have the same star sign, I probably speak more and he speaks less because he's probably a Swami student. Having said that, he gave me those experiences of just being there and seeing how a Sai student unfolds in the direct vicinity of the Lord in Vrindavan. And I was selfishly blessed to receive so many photographs that he was able to take of Swami. I would imagine what would happen when he takes those photographs. I'm hoping that one day I'll get to hear it. I have not heard it fully. But having said that, those photographs had a magical effect, not only for me, but for many people who I had the blessing of making copies and sharing it. It's just a way of how Swami announces his arrival, and the photograph could have an abhayasta or a smile or just a nod. In fact, those are the photos that I use every week for the Sai Govind Satsangh invitation that comes about. Precious photographs, precious memories, where every expression of Swami oozes with love, infinite love for all of us. And so through him, I managed to get opportunities of visiting Vrindavan, seeing what student life was all about. Of course, didn't get to go to Trai then, but I will talk about it later. The Trai materialized, singing in Vrindavan materialized. All happens, as I said, Swami's delays are not his denials. When there is a yearning and a wish, he grants the same. Now, following this visit to Prashanti, I had moved to the Netherlands, and I was in a very, very remote location, remote compared to the fact that it was not Amsterdam, it was not Rotterdam, but it was south of the Netherlands. And the first time I went in, when I had all those issues that affected my mind, where I suddenly didn't want to see Swami, that was the earlier part when I was doing my project there. I was in a small hotel room. I struggled for food. I was cycling a lot, but every time when I cycled in those cold weather, I could get to sing Swami's name. But still, the longing for those bhajans, the music, was always there. So when I went back to the Netherlands after visiting Swami for his 70th birthday, my company saw that I had some issues with my mind in the previous tenure, and they said, you know what, we're going to give you. It was very difficult to rent a place to stay. They said, we are going to give you a big mansion. The only condition is if somebody comes to visit from the office, you are allowed to let them occupy a room. And believe me, the place, from a small room where I had to live on French fries for 3 months, literally potatoes, French fries, these were the only two food. I had a mansion with about 5 rooms, an extension of an old church with lovely sounds of the bell every Sunday. And I had the opportunity to cook again, and through strange contacts found some amazing devotees of Swami, all from a tiny state called Suriname. And they taught me a lot of inspirational stories of people who have never seen Swami but have so much of love for him. And before I knew, bhajan started. Now this time it was my turn to offer bhojan. Loved cooking, so we used to cook. Once the food was ready, we do bhajans, naivedyam, and then food for our stomach, the Lord in sight. So this concept of staying connected with that music, with that bhajan, with the company of Sai devotees happened even in Netherlands, and before I knew, I was done. Time flew. I had healed from the wounds that I suffered, all with the love and grace of the Lord. And then I had to move on in my life journey, and finding a life partner was always, a process that many of you know one goes through. And I was absolutely clueless, but I hoped and prayed that I would get a life partner who would be a devotee of Swami. Well, that's how you look. But believe me, it is He who chooses a devotee, who comes into His fold, and how they come. One of my wishes then was to have my marriage done by Swami. I do not know whatever thought came, but that was probably influenced by, for Swami's 60th birthday, Swami conducted 60 weddings, 60 Upanayanams. I had a few people who got married, people I knew who got married. Then somehow I thought, I had done nothing in my life to deserve that grace, but for a bank balance that should have been huge for Swami to conduct my wedding. But what's wrong in wishful thinking? And I thought I should get married in Swami's presence. That was just a feeling. I found my life partner in a very unique way, and before we knew, we were getting married, and bhajans happened during the Mapla, whatever the previous day ceremony as you call it. And all I know, from the corner of my eye, I could see my wife weeping to glory. I was like wondering, oh my God, what have I done? Bhajans, this girl is weeping over here. I think this is the end of my bhajans in my life, if she's going to be like that. I don't know what was running through her mind. The wedding happened so smoothly, but then there was Sai bhajans. There was a lot of Sai devotees who came in. We were blessed. It was so seamless. It was a union of families. But I never realized that it was going to be a union that evolves with the love of the Lord, springing through whatever we did. And the next day, I was in the mandir in Racecourse Road in Coimbatore. Bhajans happened. Then our convener came. We were leaving. My wife and I were leaving. We get Vibhuti Prasadam and we were going. They called us back. They said, come. I thought they wanted to, give me some Varaparam, like some Vetalapaka kind of thing. And I do not know what happened. Then a group of people came around us. And before we knew, we had 2 garlands given to each other. They said, come, please offer the garlands. It's an instruction that your marriage takes place here in front of the Lord. I had goosebumps. Seriously, there were tears flowing. I do not know how every single act of thought that originates in the mind translates into a blessing from the Lord. All you have to do is wish and yearn, and He offers it to you as long as you are empty enough to accept it the way it comes. So we got married, moved to Malaysia, and then started a whole different chapter where we got engrossed with the Sai family in the location of Johor Bahru, where there were 2 different centers, and we used to attend bhajans in both of them, simply for the fact that one was on a Thursday, other was on a Sunday. So the Thursday-Sunday routine continued all through. And before we knew, we both were asked to help out with the birthday play, and I still remember the first play that I wrote, involving the youngsters and a bit of Balvikas. Today, I'm just coming back from a recording session where you have multiple tracks and you have all paraphernalia to do it. At that time, we didn't know what voice recording was all about, so it was those 2 twin tape cassette recorders. So I will play the background music in one record, and then with the live sound talk, I spoke the characters of everybody in the drama, and my wife spoke the lady's character. This is the play. Huge auditorium. We go and put up the play, and we just said that a play, wherever you put, must be the same concept of how you would do it in Prashanti. This was our wish. And believe me, it was so seamless. It was so beautiful. I was in the control room in the sound. I was not there down, but just looking down and seeing how the play evolved, you could feel Swami. There was a chair of Swami in the front in this auditorium, and you could feel him watching it entirely. That bliss started and it didn't stop. It went on for 3 years. Before that, something else happened, which probably I'll have to say, something that came along with all this devotion to me was also anger. I always could justify my anger for the love or the attachment. And, there's a beautiful drama that many of the people attending today have been part of called the bank balance or the spiritual balance. Probably my balance was too good. I could get away. In fact, my anger was so bad that probably my brother did not want to join me and work together. I didn't know. It just manifested itself in so many ways. I can't say I'm ashamed of myself, but I can say that at least I'm conscious to know that words said hurt, right? And they are more powerful than anything else that you do in life. Even Sai Ram can have multiple intonations to it. No, Sai Ram, all those turns. And we are all used to it, right? And we get away with it. So, in the January of 1998, January of 1999, I was just married for 6 months. My father went for a small procedure that required him to be admitted to the hospital just because they had given him anesthesia. They said, stay one more day. And the next morning, I get a call from my mom, rush and come to the hospital. No questions asked. Ran in there. My father was asked to squat on a pot, which is common after a surgery. You do a certain few procedures. And as he sat, my mom is seeing my father's body turn like Neelakanta. It was blue. There was no blood flow. And the nurse was trying to come and take BP. She said, cut the BP, call the doctor. And I'm going to connect two parts to this story. One is the love of a Sai family and what it does to you, and the power of prayer. Unconditional prayer. Well, unconditional is very, very questionable when you want an outcome, but I have to use the words unconditional here. I'll come to that context later on. So my father was rushed into the ICU. My granddad, sometimes you need to have a history to get the right treatment. My grandpa earlier, I don't want to give that experience, hoping that one day my brother will be talking about it. So let me not get a few of his anecdotes away. So my grandpa had recovered from a simple fall to a bleeding ulcer and stayed in the ICU for God knows a month, and then came out fine and lived he lived literally 23 years after that. Or 22 years. So the doctors knew my father was not having a heart attack. They said, we've got to put him on a ventilator. Ventilator is basically, you are dependent on an external machine. Now with Corona, everybody knows what is a ventilator. Ventilators were of huge demand last 2 years for different reasons of need. So my father was on a ventilator. And so here comes the Sai connection. The orthopedic head, Dr. Arul, of that hospital was the president of our Sai Center. And he came up, and the doctor who was attending to my father was actually feeling very bad because, my father being slightly on the heavier side due to lack of probably sports that he loved, he should have given him probably some blood thinning just in case. So what had happened was an air bubble from the knee moved up and blocked the main artery where blood flow has to go in. And that's called pulmonary embolism. And the doctor who attended to my dad did not try anything and just stopped him from doing his job and putting him on a vent. Step number 1, correct diagnosis at the right time. Had my father been discharged from where we lived 20 minutes into the journey, he would have definitely conked because there's no way you could have survived. It happened in the hospital. It happened on the one floor above the ICU, and he was in the ICU. So I go in, I see him with all the machines beep, 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 beep going on. I don't know what to do. And I've heard of my brother and mom reading this red color book which looked like a communist diary called the Satcharita, and I just opened and I was saying, what English is this? And no grammar. I never bothered. And when you have no option, you go back to that ultimate tool that you have in hand called prayer. So I started reading. So my mom and I we took a vow that we won't go home without my dad. We were staying in the corridors of the hospital. And because Dr. Arul knew me, he gave his room for me to sleep the night. So no worries about sleeping. There was a bathroom, we could bathe. We decided we are not going home without him. Matter ends there. And I started reading the Satcharita, managed to go through the first chapter, which is a long chapter, you all know, and I was like wondering, why should this guy talk about himself, and then he's writing about Papa, all kinds of thoughts. I had to cross the first chapter, and several times I've started, never crossed beyond the first chapter. And then they come up with a rule and say that, you have to read it like a saptaham, 7 days, so many chapters. Come on. For me, reading a book is a challenge. I love to listen, but I can't read. So here I am sitting in the footsteps of the ICU and reading. And so the nurse came and said, you have access, go to your father. By the way, your father can hear you subconsciously, but he's actually in a very different stage when you're on a ventilator. He can be seeing God and coming back as well. You do not know. So we just went, sat, and I started reading the Satcharita, Trayambakam, Sai Ishwarai with me, all near my dad, as if the ICU belonged to me. I mean, where on earth can you dream of an ICU where you are given uninterrupted access 24 hours to go in whenever you want, you feel like reading? And then I said, look, I am praying, I can pray for you, Appa, but if you feel that you have something to finish in your life and you have to live, you have to fight. And that was what I told him. And I read the Satcharita. Probably at that time I was still reading it half intuitively for the fact that somebody said you read it. I had not grasped. Today it's a whole different paradigm shift reading the Satcharita. Although I have never done a saptaham after that, I read whenever I feel like. I read a chapter and I say, tomorrow let me continue. That saptaham never happened after this incident. And seeing me pray, let me tell you the power of prayer and the power of Sai. So 4 days passed. First day, the doctor came and said he can't survive 24 hours. Next day, they said, well, let's wait 48 hours. After 48 hours, there was a glimmer of hope. They said, maybe let's look at 72 hours. And then it went on. And I knew, well, we are heading in the right direction. If the faith and his fight continues, he's going to survive. I had that feeling that Swami is not going to let us down because of at least the prayers my dad did, not for the prayers that I did. Then there was this pandemic called Japanese encephalitis, where from a pig you get this infection and anybody who comes dies. So literally ICU with 6 beds. There were people coming who will be there today and tomorrow they are gone. This was the ICU. Literally everybody except my dad in that week were all gone. Nobody survived. My dad is the odd man. And soon you'll be surprised. We had Muslim families where somebody was on a bed, asked me to come and read something to their people, and I was chanting Trayambakam as their last prayers for many of them. Power of prayer. And I was reading the Satcharita to all of them. See how Sai brings that message to a dying soul. None of them survived, but they all could hear the Satcharita just because I had access to the ICU. And then, of course, this was the only way. I called my brother and said, pack up and come, buddy. I can't handle this. And that was a turning point. He came for my father and he stayed. And without him, I would not be having the time to spend for Sai because he works and so I work for Swami. Matter ends. We are together in what we do. And he has been my Lakshmana all through, guarding every step that I take. And staying that one step behind and letting me take all the limelight while he does all the hard work behind. So Swami gives us situations in life, gives us the blessings, all for our own good. And as long as we have the faith that he is the doer and we are nothing but that which he can control and allow us to manifest that divinity inside, faith cannot develop. Faith has to be there for all this to happen. Faith is the undercurrent for all this to happen. So, post this, my dad recovered. By the way, in 10 days, my dad was out, fine, fit as a fiddle, and he's still around. This is close to 24 years ago. And that was a way where my brother got back, and we are together. My dad went through it, got out of it. His faith in Swami never diminished, neither did ours. We believe that the power of prayer is the way forward, and we continue to do so. I think a family that prays together stays together. That's how I look at that's how I look at the love that comes when there is unity. starting at the family, and then only it can go to society, right? And that only can happen when you allow the love of Sai to flow in each one of us. So post Johor, there was beautiful bhajans, there was beautiful dramas. We had the opportunity. There was also a lot of thoughts that came. Some of them did not fructify. For example, one of my dream was always to put a play of Shirdi to Parthi. Reading that book, wanted to see how the three avatars came. How Shiva, Parvati granted the boon. How these avatars came, and we were writing the play. We had even written the music for it. When my wife's, when my mother-in-law took seriously ill and she reached the lotus feet in the year 2000, and I had the blessing of seeing this Subbulakshmi Mami, who was here from Chennai, who took over the musical. What I wanted to say was, it was a thought that originated in me. The thought originated because he sowed the seed. The environment changes the opportunity provided, which are beyond one's control. But when his sankalpa is there for something to be staged, he sends the right people to make things happen. And Subbulakshmi Mami rewrote the entire musical, and it was beautiful drama, Shirdi to Parthi, done by her, that happened. All I'm trying to say is this birthday drama connect continued, and I'll come back to that later. And I'm slightly going fast because I want to go to the main segment of it. From there, we moved to Singapore. And Singapore is blessed with one of the most beautiful mandirs that one can see. 3 floors, wonderful bhajans resonating with a lot of energy. Many of the people, at least I adore and I know, used to go there. And automatically my mind said, go there. I went. I got opportunities to sing. Before long, I was chasing the mic again. To me, not getting a chance was the Lord judging me that I've done something bad for the week, or the people don't realize how good I am to sing, or there's this politics, that's the reason that fellow is not giving me. All kinds of hulla bala started, that I lost my basic peace of going for bhajans. Then the second fight started internally. Swami, you know what? I can just sing bhajans at home. What the hell? And I don't really need anything. I don't need a center. So many people are devotees. But you see, one thing that really I strongly believe is, if there was no reason to create an organization, then Swami would say, take my photo, sit in your home and do bhajans. Why did he give an organization? Organization will have difference in people, different thought process, all for the love for Swami. In fact, it gets to be infectious love in the other way. It infects your mind, that ego manifests, that, Swami becomes incidental. Except in the name of the organization, there's no Swami anyway, nevertheless. But then the fight starts because of the internal conflict that arises in you, thinking that you deserve this and you have not got it. You deserve that, you have not got that. You start comparing. And I told my wife, you know what? My children were going for Balvikas incidentally there, and I got so furious. I said, they should also not go. I didn't want to go. They should not go. That's how frivolous the mind is when it is agitated. And there began my quest of this place, which has been my journey that I spoke about, finding Sai in Sai Geetham. I'm definitely going to get emotional as I speak about this. So somebody said there's Brother Satya, and I knew Brother Satya. I knew his voice was next to honey. And I've seen him before, but they said they have this place in Ishun, somewhere, this Balasubramaniam temple. We go there, there's temple noise and all that. They said today the bhajan is in somebody's house. I said, no, the calling is not there, let's go home. Like this, we probably went to the Balasubramaniam temple 2-3 times. But never did we go for bhajans. The calling was not yet there, because there has to be surrender, right, for the calling to happen. However devoted you are. And the ego comes in its path. it was very, very dark few months. I mean, just not singing, just not going to a bhajan was not me. It was very frustrating. And then one fine day, Swami's birthday came again. And of course, you can't stay away from bhajans. And I go there, and it's in a beautiful auditorium, and I know that they address some people as Buddha, as Shirdi Baba, and I had this man who was bubbling with energy right next to me sitting. I was not singing or anything, but I was sitting there, and I saw this man, and there was another brother with curly hair. He was doing a few things. There was another brother. I'll give their names later. I just want to build a bit of setup to come to those names later on. And there was so much of cohesiveness, love, and the children were bubbling with energy. I said, this is the center I should be, buddy. Why am I not there? And then I went and asked, where are these people from? They said, Sai Geetham. And of course, I knew Brother Satya was there. And I made an effort to go after birthday to Sai Geetham. And believe me, had I not gone there, this part 2 of the satsang would not happen, because whatever is happening there is because of what transpired there and the learnings that I've had. If there are a few words that I have to use, this is a center where everyone leads without a title. That's the first thing. I mean, Robin Sharma made a lot of money using even writing a book, lead without a title. I mean, this is a corporate jargon. In Sai Geetham, you have a president, you have a secretary, you have whatever, but you know what? Everyone does work for Swami. It's incidental that they get a tenure. That was the first manifestation going there. Second thing was an open arm embracing. It's not Sai Ram with, who is this guy? Where is he from? Is he a troublemaker? Imagine when you go there to any place, before you reach, all your vasanas get transferred to other people. Oh, this fellow he's like that. That fellow is like that. But you need to go and be unconditionally accepted. And that is what happened when I first went to that center. All I could feel was love flowing from Sai through all those wonderful souls who were there. Of course, the tadup to get back to the mic was there. I had to go and ask somebody, can I sing? It did happen. But what has happened over time, if I have to give a long story short with singing, the craving to sing at Sai Geetham went through a full cycle where without singing a week was not complete, to understanding that singing is not just about leading, singing is also about following. Singing is about Geetham. Geetham is nothing but bliss. Geetham is nothing but the music of the Lord that comes when he's in a state of bliss. And when he's in a state of bliss, he's in a state of bliss constantly. Whether it is war that is going to happen or whether there is happiness, as in the Bhagavad Gita. Geetham is something where there has to be bliss, not just in the Lord, but in all the people around. Only then it becomes Sai Geetham. Right? And going there, it was very funny. Somebody came and I said, I'm a Balvikas student, I've been this and that. They said, next year, would you like to teach? I said, why not? That's what I did in pre-Sevadal. I've not taught Balvikas in ages. I would love to. And I still remember my first batch of students who came, where I had to probably have 2 people to work to please. One, myself. Second, my students. Third, their parents who will come back and give me feedback of what their children said after class. So again, it went a little bit like a TRP chasing, like what is my points for this week's class? Until I realized that unless there is love flowing from me and I win their love or their trust to realize that whatever we do is for Swami, and until I change my disciplinarian outlook, do this way or no way, I'm never going to be one with them. And if I'm not going to be one with a young mind which is evolving, I can never be a guru. I need someone to give me a torchlight to show me where is the path. Who am I to go and show a torchlight to these kids and expect instant transformation like Vedavyasa born, fatafat became so big and he's already evolved. I mean, that is not Balvikas, right? Balvikas is about sowing the seeds. So what it allowed me was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to go back every week, think on how a topic touches the mind of a young soul, and that in turn allows you to understand so many finer details of the message of the Lord. So I have my Sashtanga Namaskarams for my first batch of students, Pranav, Suraj, so many of them, who poor things had to go through a process of allowing me to learn to teach. They were able to handle my crazy instincts of trying to do things without any planning. They will jump. If I say jump, they will jump. If I say sit down, they'll sit down. They still have to be a student. They still have to do all their regular things, but they were doing whatever the teacher asked. And through them, I got the happiness of teaching. So my first healing from this ego busting that happened earlier with the craving started with illumination. So I'll come back to this. This is the eye of Sai. Illumination of the mind by trying to understand what is his message. I can't say that I follow everything he says. I probably hardly do so to less than even a fraction of a percentile even today. But that effort to understand what he's trying to say started. And I think everything starts with this application to understand. So Balvikas gave other opportunities. Of course, in between there was also these opportunities of Parthi visits. There were people who went to Parthi. Somehow, that I told you after that 70th birthday, I told Swami, I'm happy. I am happy with what I've got. I don't crave and yearn for more. I thought I was a very great Mahanubhava. If you hear the stories of Sai Anna, whom I hope he will speak, they have not even craved for darshan or even a pada namaskar for that matter, and Swami flows, manifests through compositions that come to them just like that. We are nothing. Anyway, I didn't have the craving to go and put a drama or sing in front of Swami. There are a lot of people from Sai Geetham went. And before that, let me go back to one more thing. I didn't speak about that. I'll come back to this. I told you about my children going to Balvikas. Some of the experiences, and today it was also nostalgic. We were singing some Vittala bhajans, and I want to tell you, when my daughter was born as a 8-year-old or 8-month-old, we went to Parthi just before Swami's birthday. We saw the Ladies' Day program, and I have a very fond feeling for Ladies' Day simply for the fact that not I attended it, but my brother was there for the first Ladies' Day, and he took some wonderful pictures of Swami in yellow and everybody bathed in shimmering yellow. That vision always comes, and I think Swami always has color contrast for Ladies' Day, especially. It's so colorful, except all men in white and just one orange robe. This is so beautiful just to see him float there. So we were there for Ladies' Day when I think it was 2002. And from there we went to Shirdi. So it was a Parthi to Shirdi trip that happened. And a lot of wonderful experiences taking a young one. When my son was born, of course, both my children, I didn't even bother looking at names, because the name that my father wanted to give if he had a daughter was what went to my daughter, and a name that my grandma wanted to give if she had a 7th child became the name of my son, Vittal. And here I am taking a little kid. I have no clue of Ashada Purnima or Ekadasi or nothing like that. I'm there in Parthi, close to Guru Purnima, full crowd. Go there. And the vision when I'm taking, of course, my son was with me, and no, son would have been with my wife only. Nevertheless, and the entire background was Vittala, and all we heard that day was Vittala bhajans. And that is the name of our son. And I knew that it was a blessing from Swami. So everywhere along, all I'm trying to say is the entire journey of mine, all through Swami has manifested to show I am there always with you. Now coming back to Sai Geetham. So here the 85th birthday came, and I still wanted to write scripts. You see, mind, once you can write, you think you are the best writer of scripts, you are the best. And this was one national event where every center was given bits and pieces. And this is a beautiful experience I want to share. Many people who are here were part of it, and you will fondly recall. I wanted to be a stage manager. I wanted to be directing a portion of it. I wanted to write part of the script. I wanted to put some music, everything, all that I could do. I wanted to do something, but I got none of that anyway. And in between, I had my Balvikas student who was given the role of getting a background. And why I'm trying to tell you is every opportunity that you give is a learning curve. If you understand the value of learning, then you progress. So the first thing that happened was a Ganesha song from Vishwa Vinayaka. There were some boys who don't know any form of dancing who were taught to dance, and it was more of synchronization, and we have Savitrika who was choreographing the whole thing. Practice was going on. So I had my student Suraj who was given the job of getting some background, and he was working with one MacBook, and I was like, this is Greek and Latin, man, what are you doing? And I had to really bother the fellow to get whatever I thought was the visuals. Again, I got involved with the visuals without they asking for it. That's the way I poke myself and get involved in everything and anything that comes along the way. And the poor boy patiently taught. And I want to tell you, I owe it to him, but for him sowing the seeds of an interest in Mac, the rest of my journey with plays or video or music for Swami would not have happened, because there's so much to learn when you have the skill sets to do those visual effects and bring the best that you can. And Suraj was instrumental in showing me the path in doing that. And again, from a student in Sai Geetham. And coming back to the play, that was it. We created some backgrounds. There was no role allocated, and I said I will film the drama. Anyway, I love videos and photography. I said I'll do the filming. So here I had 2 cameras positioned in a beautiful auditorium. Still no role. That was what I thought I will do. Then they said there's a last scene. The last scene was a beautiful song. All of them come on stage, and they wanted Swami to appear. And suddenly I said, after every drama, what happens? Swami appears, and it should be so powerful that you should feel he's there, and you finish with the photo taking. So this is what I had in my mind when that thought came. So we were thinking of different things. Can we do this? We have a sister Shanti who's so good in anything that you give her to design. So I can't. I'm not. Forgive me if I don't mention names. I'm just going with names that come in the story that I'm narrating today. So we decided that we'll make a Bhagwati Swami. What is a Bhagwati Swami? You take one nice low-gel suitcase with 4 wheels, and you'll get a nice cutout of Swami and put it such that Swami is coming like in the wheelchair. So we wanted to get a Tatrupam effect of Swami. And so I went about printing it, and the whole night we cut it and we put it on the bag. We have still not done a test run of this. Nothing has been done, no lighting, special effects. Then Brother Sathya comes to me and says, you stay in this room, don't come out. And I said, my camera is outside. So I got somebody to say, switch on the camera and just leave it on. I can't leave this room. I was not allowed to even come out and see in the play. My daughter took part in some musical aspect of it. There were so many things, and I wanted to be part of it, right? I mean, the desperation to be part of it. That is the yearning that I had. The curtain has to move. There was an electronic button to move the curtain. So my job was to move the curtain, listening to the sound such that it finishes and Swami comes and it's all dark. So all he told, the lighting people ran up and said, black light and spotlight. This is all that we have given. No rehearsal, nothing. Spot also not fixed. We knew that was going to be the light. Believe me, when I looked at the video, I was in tears because everybody felt Swami coming out. Everybody could feel Swami there on stage. And I still have the cutout in my Swami room till today. I can't throw it, even though it's got a few blemishes here and there. It was a whole different experience. You don't have to lead to do anything. You can just play a role. You can play a role when you're given a role. You don't have to crave for it or insist that you get it. So there we realize again the beauty of cohesive working together, and that was Sai Geetham. The moment there was work to be done, people came. Sleep did not matter. The love was unconditional. Everything else could wait. That manifestation came. There were some people who were so committed to Seva, like Brother Madhavan and a few others in our center, Uncle Reddy. They were serving food to the dormitories, and it was a whole different experience. Early on, as a pre-Sevadal, we had done a lot of camps. Swami used to come and always was happy when we serve the needy. And Sai Geetham insisted that no matter what, every Sunday there's Narayana Seva, and we would cook some home-cooked food, or we will take it somewhere, pack it, and go to some dormitories and give. Let me tell you, the happiness of giving a packet of food with the word Sai Ram is better than singing 100 bhajans. It just changes the whole dynamics. I have someone listening here today who I'm not going to name. She's going to be angry if I name her. But she will just cook 108, 300, 400. Every time we have a number to catch up, we say, sister, can we have 100 more boxes? She will cook. Where she got the energy, God only knew. But she would do so. So from starting with a project of 250 or 300 food packets, that Seva manifested with an Excel Google sheet where we could collect food from all over of Singapore, where we had to have cars designated with Google Map details of whom to pick up. Devotees and non-devotees were cooking food, similar food, same food. 5,000. All to be done in a seamless manner between 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, such that 4:30 you are giving them their one meal for the day. We face a lot of challenges in between, but that would not happen if the whole center did not come together. Believe me, we are not a 300, 400 member center. We are a small center. But when that activity came right from the Balvikas kid to the oldest person, everybody was there. And that love that we received unconditionally from people who received that food packet was more than you can imagine. And that told me that, the first letter of Swami, S, stands for service. And if you don't do service, what is the point of singing his name? Because in service, there is no ego. There is no you or me. There is no I am greater than thou. It has to be done. It will be done. It shall be done. And that was again possible because there was cohesiveness in everybody to do it. I'm hoping that service starts again. It kind of stalled for reasons beyond our control. But I hope it will happen someday, because that transformation of calming of the mind through that service was beyond imagination in my life. Then, of course, to sing. Everywhere you go, if you have the ability to sing, you become a wanted person. If you're slightly better in singing, you become a special person. If you're slightly skilled with a little bit more of playing a harmonium, you become a superstar. Different ratings, like you have ratings of skill sets and you go. In Sai Geetham, all you need is to have the love for Sai and the interest to sing. People who are there with skill sets that are infinitely greater than yours will not go and correct you that you are wrong unless you are willing to listen if they say something. Now, this is very important, brothers and sisters, for the fact that I told you once upon a time Swami never touched the boundary of Coimbatore district because our fighting happened for the mic and for the fact what you sing. and not getting what you sing. Now you see, again, all those life lessons come and manifest itself in Sai Geetham, where everybody gets to sing. Akhanda Bhajan, we probably have more number of people. Everybody in the center is singing. And we start singing together. And singing together sometimes can be with someone who might not be as versatile as you are in your singing ability. But when you sing together, you have to blend. When you don't blend, it's horrible to hear. So harmony comes only when you try to work together, to work to your strengths and to work to cover the weakness of the other, not to overshadow the weakness. Cover, complement is different from overshadowing. This is something that I learnt at Sai Geetham. And that was a very, very important lesson that helped me calm down. That all I wanted to do, which sometimes I'm still, something happened later where even that I was willing to give. The only thing that I wanted to do was sing the Arati. I just loved singing Swami's Arati. I used to get that. The mic never left me for a long time. Even then I used to try and give it to a few Balvikas here and there. Then for different reasons it came back to me. It stuck to me. Later on that became my lifeline when something else happened after this beautiful thing. So I was in Sai Geetham, filled with love, hearing the music of Sai, through the bliss that manifested in every act that was done as a center cohesively. With absolute, brother, you want to do it? It shall be done. It's not like, can we do it like this? Why not this way? No questions. We shall do it. So being available, and that is something that I learned, that anybody who came to the center, my only interest was to make sure they are included as fast as possible without even having them want to come and ask. So we go and ask, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? And that was because of the love that I got, where I wanted to go and say I wanted to do it. Instead of that, anybody who comes to our center, the policy or the common goal is, come, what do you want to do? Please do. That's it. We don't go and test their skill sets or abilities. And that is important in a Sathya Sai organization. We are all different. Believe me, there are people with so much of skill sets, so much of capabilities. But if we have to stay together as an organization, we have to learn to accept differences but work together in harmony. And when you are working together in harmony, you hear Sai's Geetham, and that is Sai Geetham. So moving from there, after that, I do not know from where it happened for, I think 4 to 5 years or probably more. I can't recollect. I don't keep account. Every year for Swami's birthday, managed to get the opportunity of writing a script or stitching a script where people put things together, make it into one blend, put it in the same standard where you have background music. All you have to do is, when birthday comes, Satya Anna's house doesn't have a lock. So we are always there recording, we are doing this or that, and all we do is for the love of Swami, nothing else. And the output manifests itself so beautifully because it is done with that purity of thought, word and deed. So many birthdays happened. Every year we had a play, and each play was better than the other. Sometimes I've also been very, very hard. I become a possessed guy when a play happens. As I told you, I have this problem with my tongue, and words fly, tempers fly, all for the love. And as I said, my bank balance was, I was really, really fortunate to be born with a huge bank balance that I could get away with, probably not murder, but close to that, right, with my anger. But still, the output was good because it was for Swami, and it's not your ego that puts you down. It's his birthday, and he gets the product. Now, why I'm stepping on anger is the next phase was a very difficult one for me. So I was in Sai Geetham doing everything that I wanted. I still loved singing, and singing was my way of prayer. So in 2016, there was a musical production that I was doing with my Hindustani music teacher, and where there was some high lines, and I loved singing loud and high, and I was like, I was the loudest. And there were a few from here who came and saw the program. And then the same year, we managed to get a special musical offering to be done for Swami's birthday, where there was also these practices happening where there was some Mola, Mere Mola, Om Shivoham and all that. Mallikanna was sitting here, was by my side, and I went for practice in Swami home. And as we sang this, Om Shivoham, Om Shivoham, Rudranamam Bhajeham, Bhajeham. Then it goes, there are a few lines that go higher than that, and I was singing. Earlier itself, my voice was under a lot of stress. So when I went into Rudranamam Bhajeham, Bhajeham, then all I heard was nothing coming out. Was there. The only other louder person next to me was Malik, and I was loud. We were two loud voiced people trying to sing this song with all the josh, and we were possessed when we were singing that. And all I knew was, where is the sound? Nothing's coming out. So he said, I've practiced a lot. It is stress. Satyana said, take this, Generally for Swami's birthday, we practice so much that finally when we actually do the Jula song or the special song for Swami's birthday, nothing comes out. But, there are some Mahanubhavas who Swami gets them to sing, and we still get away with whatever we offer because we have practiced and he has already heard the better version of it during practice. So I thought, okay, this was one of that. It will manifest itself when it's needed. Next day came, I had carried my whites. And I had carried my camera, and Satyana came and said, you should sing. I said, for what? Nothing's coming out. So my white and white became Mallikanna's white and white, and it was a pavam for him because he was wearing double the size of what he was. And he sat on stage, and I, with lots of tears in my eyes, this was something that I dreamed to be part of for how many years? And it was happening. Also earlier, I think it was that year also where you had Hari Anna and all of them came. There were a lot of things that were happening where I could not be part of things beyond my control. Part of it was to do with my internal anger over issues that sometimes I wonder what causes anger in you. Perfectionism, well, that's an excuse. Anger happens when there's a lot of attachment. And when there's a lot of attachment, there's also the ego that manifests itself. Anger is nothing but ego manifesting itself in action. So, in my case, the loudness in the voice was totally subdued, and I had no voice. I could not sing. Nothing. And for a person where if a note doesn't hit the note, my face will become Ashtavakram. That whatever was coming out of me was not even, I can't even, forget the note. I can't even go next to the harmonics of it, okay? To the extent that I can't even speak. The only thing that worked, and even in those conditions, I am grateful to Sai Geetham, where I say Om, it can come like different multi-tones coming in it. They still let me say Om. They let me chant slogans. And somehow my voice box will work when it comes to the Arati. Don't ask me how it happens. Arati song, any day, whatever voice condition works. So I said, chalo, I can sing the Arati, I can still sing for Swami, but I never tried introspecting why I lost my voice. And the angst was setting in to sing for Swami. And why is it not happening? So I went and met Dr. Ravi, who's our regional coordinator in this zone. He's an ENT specialist. He said, your voice box is fantastic. What's wrong? Nothing is wrong. I can't sing. I can't speak. That's wrong. What's the cure? He said, rest. I don't know if you watched this movie of Jim Carrey, where he's asked not to lie. And his face goes, in different proportions. Every time he speaks, he wants to lie. But, like that for me, if you say, keep my mouth shut, my face will have to go into multiple dimensions and proportions. Because speaking and me, Mike and me are like two brothers. We twins. We are inseparable. So suddenly, I had to start looking at silence. But again, when you are not at peace, silence is the worst enemy. You need to be in peace for you to be silent. And you need to have a lot of faith that only a miracle can happen because there's nothing in your hands. So I said, no, there are voice therapists. Chalo, I'm going to go to voice therapy. So I went into to a speech therapist who helped my son earlier on for some things that he had. And again, it went back to what I learned from my grandpa. So I go to her and she says, okay, Venkat, she's trying to see my breath. She's trying to see whether my neck muscles were strained, my jaw was strained, different things apparently. And I also realize through talking to her, the beauty of the production of sound, the dynamics of the production of sound. And I was thinking how many times Satyana had tried to talk about intonation of Rudram chanting, why your syllables have to go up, what it does to your body, what it does. The tones have so much in them, and just producing the tones involved letting the sound go hit multiple places around you to get those harmonics or dynamics or whatever you want to call that. And she said, there's only one exercise, Venkat, you should start. I said, what is that? I know you're very spiritual. I said, yeah, tell me, what is it? She said, can you please say 21 times Om in the morning? So remember my first story, Pranava Mantra? And this healing started with Om. That was my exercise, 21 times. I had to time myself to see whether the Om I could control. And if you look at Om, the beauty you have, you remember the way you are supposed to chant an Om is an aeroplane far away, aeroplane comes near you, aeroplane goes away. So it has to have a soft sound with a crescendo, and then it goes away to softer tones later on. And the production of the sound is in different positions of the body. So you work on a lot of dynamics without you realizing it. So the quest had started, and by that time, by the way, Corona hit, and we were all in calls, Zoom calls, meetings, and everybody would look at me and say, have you muted yourself? I said, I have not muted myself because they can't hear me. 10 minutes of talking and the voice goes away. This was speech therapy, and I was craving. I do not know whether it was seeking attention or the fact that I love singing. I ended up downloading an app called Smule. It was disaster in making for the voice therapist because she said rest, and I was here blasting away songs in all genres, including bhajans, and making a fool of myself singing because people would say it sounded nice, but I knew that I was not even in tone or even in pitch. That yearning continued, and thanks to this Smule, I didn't bring Smule for other reasons. It is for the path to recovery. So I met a brother from New York who's a Swami devotee, and he said, Anna, I saw in your background in one of the videos Mahapariva's photograph. Today is Mahapariva's birthday. Would you like to sing this as a collab? And I sang with some absolutely celestial voices that day. Voice worked again. Just to let you know, in between all this, when the voice was not working, a few things happened. There was an event called One with Sai, and I managed to sing in Vrindavan with Satyana. Was it earlier, Anna? Was it 2016 or earlier? Or 2015, is it? No, One with Sai?
16.
Just about.
16.
No, it was before this event. So managed to sing in Vrindavan, following Satyana, managed to sing inside Trai, which was one of those wish lists, just following him singing Arunachala Shiva. Mind-blowing experience, just seeing the lingam and singing there in that vibration. In between, when the voice was not working, apart from the Arati, I had opportunities to sing in front of Kanchi, Periva, and whenever there was somebody, or many visits to Parthi where during the bhajan I could match the scale of the voice at D and E. It worked whenever I had to sing for Swami, not to myself or for someone else. So fast forward, this invitation to sing for Mahapariva led to another project, which was a Soundarya Lahari recording project, where somebody was teaching us various verses, and we were to be allocated one verse. So there were 15 of us or 20 of us, I don't remember. So if there were 100 slokas, I would probably get 3 or 4. No, I think there were 30 people. So I was likely to get a probability of 3 slokas in 100 slokas. So the first sloka, I said, why not? I shall take part. And this brother called me and said, brother, this sloka, by the way, do you know, is a sloka for curing illness, especially diabetes. And I'm a diabetic. And he said, learn this. And it came with the meaning. I dived into the meaning. They gave me a track which was in C, Shruti of C. And when the actual recording happened, because there were a lot of ladies involved, they changed the track to A. Already I told you I'm singing from the well, deep in the well. From C to A is a huge shift. Some of the notes, all I was getting was air. I made a fool of myself, but I went through the process of singing it. And I said, I thought they won't call me. And then they called me the second time and they offered me a sloka, plead to the Lord, surrender to her, and she will grant all that you want. I did that, again made a fool of myself. And I said, surely they're not going to call. And then somebody backed out and I got one more sloka which said, surrender, surrender, surrender. That is all that you have to do in life, nothing else. And I did, and I sang that. The next day my voice came. I have no idea. I actually pinched myself whether I was able to sing. And all these 5 years, there was one song, probably my wife would have got bored. It was a Haryana song, which was Trai Vrindavana Sai. Same song every day. Just to see whether there's any miracle that's going to happen, because you know the notes to hit, the transitions to go and all that. Nothing worked. Then I sang that song and I couldn't believe this. So it was Navaratri after that, and in between my source of anger was very personal on some things that didn't go my way. And I think always when things don't go my way, everybody will agree with Sai Geetham, I become a different person. And in this time I had no choice, nothing was going my way, I had to accept and surrender. So the voice came back, but still I could not sing. It was like 15-20 minutes of reaching the scale. It didn't go beyond that. Then one night while I was in quarantine after a return trip, there was this mule bhajan invite. Karunamayi Janani Ma, He Prema Swarupini Ma. It was by an amazing singer from Bombay. Mesmerizing voice, and the music was such that as if goddess was, Swami was dancing and coming down. The music, the start, I'll play that song after this. Swami was dancing down and coming. And then after that it goes Karunamayi Janani Ma, He Prema Swarupini Ma. And everything in that is about Karuna, Prema, and how Swami grants this. That night, I couldn't sleep. And I got a new facet coming down, which was to write poems. So it was about 3 a.m. Swami was literally knocking me to get up and say, take a paper. I thought, okay, suddenly I'm going to be some composer or what, I too can become a composer. Small thoughts. And, for composing, you need much more musical skills and also language proficiency. The only language that I could probably speak better than others would be English. So I will play the song just for you to have a fervor of how beautiful sound does to the mind, and how if we are able to connect to those words and feel Swami through the expression that comes, the experience is one of a kind, So let me just play that song. We'll listen to it, and then I shall read the poem that came my way. So just 1 second. Just a moment. I'm trying to get the hang of how to do this while I am the speaker and still, sorry. Let me do this now. I'm going to share screen. And I was lucky. The video that I've used, I didn't want to show faces singing it. There's a devotee, a long-time devotee who's singing along. This was redone. It was not that song that happened on that night, but it's the same song. And recently I came across a video from Radio Sai, which I've used, and I seek their permission to use it today as well, is that balcony darshan of Swami that greeted me when I first went as a 10-year-old. a similar video was out, and I'm sharing this and offering my gratitude to Swami for helping me get a voice back to
Sai Ma.
So, following this song, this is what I heard him say, and it goes like this. O Sai, without your grace, we are not even a trace. O Sai, without your grace, we are not even a trace. Hanging by a thin thread, knotted by your love. Hanging by a thin thread, knotted by your love. Emptiness everywhere, if not for you beckoning us, Bangaru. Emptiness everywhere, if not for you beckoning us as Bangaru. Like pure gold that is surrendered to the goldsmith. Like pure gold that is surrendered to the goldsmith. You test and convince us to face the trials and tribulations that meet the eye. You test and convince us to face the trials and tribulations that meet the eye. You, a master craftsman, in thy hand we become an ornament. You, a master craftsman, in thy hand we become an ornament. An ornament of love, worthy to be worn. An ornament of love, worthy to be worn, and beautiful inside. And beautiful inside. O Sai, without your grace, we are not even a trace. This was a realization that finally told me that it is not the mic, it is not the sound, but the process of you even energizing yourself to bring that sound can only happen when there is love inside you and no anger. Without which there is not even sound. Sound itself, you can be robbed of the ability to experience sound, the Nada Brahman. From the time I started experiments, of course, I still have not conquered my anger. My family will be, if they are there and they've got a mic, they're probably going to reel out stories. But having said that, it started, since I got my voice back, I started feeling happy again. And I started understanding the power of silence, if not just alone walk with nature. Swami, in this satsang we have heard people say, Swami, where can we see you? And Swami says, open your window and wherever you see Prakriti, that's me. That's Swami's words. I still remember in one of our satsang, they said Swami used to walk in his room inside Trai, and unless you had pin drop silence, you can't even hear the faint steps of Swami. So unless you are in a state of bliss, you can't go and try to be silent. And if you don't experience silence, you can never hear Sai Geetham. Because the real happiness, the real Geetham is that when you are in bliss, that you can receive the bliss. It is not in you trying to produce bliss by sound, music, actions, dramas, videos, photos, all that are external. Doesn't matter. But if you are able to experience bliss in the deepest depth of silence, not silence as in words alone, silence in the mind. So, if I were to try and put this whole thing together, as in the chapter 11 of Sai Satcharita, where they talk about Sagun and Nirgun forms. Swami allowed us to be mesmerized by a Sagun form. But he actually wants us to move towards the Nirgun form. What is Nirgun form here that he is trying to refer to? Is it Swami in thin air, somewhere manifesting as some voice? No. So if you go back to this beautiful English song, remind me, my Lord, remind me, my Lord. Remind me, my Lord, who I am. And then it says, I am Om, I am Om, I am Om. Yes, you are the Nada Brahmam or the Pranava Mantram. Through this life of distraction and of illusion, remind me, my Lord, who I am. That's the life that all of us lead. So whatever I've spoken is nothing different from any one of you. All of you would have had the same experience, same challenges. It's just whether we recognize it. I just was lucky to choose an opportunity to reflect and look at the rear view mirror and see how blessed I am, that if I don't have gratitude for all that He has done, then I'm not worthy to receive that love. So finally in this it says, I am truth, I am peace, divine bliss. I am Satya, I am Shanti, and I am bliss. And that is what I was talking about. That Ananda Swarupa, He Prema Swarupa, remind me, my Lord, who I am. And finally you finish off with, I am love, pure love. When there is love inside us, not just for Swami, because that gets intoxicated and we forget about the man next to you. So Swami says finally, Nirgun, Sai, is the Sai in each one of us. I am man, you are man. I am God, you are God. When that feeling comes, there will be harmony of thought, word and deed. There will be constant integrated awareness. And you will forever, even in silence, be able to be in Sai through Sai Geetham, which is nothing but the Pranava residing in your heart and in the heart of the universe. So I have been absolutely lucky. Last week after the satsang, I couldn't sleep. And my sleepless nights continued through a 12-week trip to India. And I just want to tell you one more incident before that. Earlier this year, I just want to share how Swami's infinite love comes to you. All you have to do is ask. Mango de dunga. Pucho dilwaunga. So we were going to Prashanti, my parents and I, and my aunt. Her daughter was due to deliver, and we wanted 2 packets of vibhuti, 2 potlam of vibhuti from the trust. So all we asked was 2 packets of vibhuti. So we knew the stores were closed. So Vivek called his classmate who is in the Department of Physics and said, hey, can you get from the trust office, because we can't go anywhere. Corona, they are not open, Prashanti. We had a beautiful soul in whose house, who's listening to us, where we had one of the best meals and love flowing abundantly. But this journey happened and we had told that we are going to be coming for breakfast. But once we go to Prashanti, all we wanted to do is go and rush and see Swami. We went were there for Vedam. The tears flowed uncontrollably when bhajans happened. Thanks to Satyana, we could chant a bit of slow, all those Vedam and all that before that. Otherwise, trust me, we would have been closing our eyes and trying to meditate. And then bhajans happened. It finished. And I told myself we were time bound to go back to Bangalore, that I will not try and go say hello, because Sai Govind Satsangh, you already know so many people. All you want to say, Sai Ram, this is me, I'm Venkat, blah, 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 and all that, that kind of stuff I wanted to do. And I said, no, chalo, nothing, let's just leave. Energy is fantastic. So we go to the Ganesha gate and we did Pradakshinam. I told my father, please wait here. And I was thinking in my mind, what a trip to Prashanti. I have not gone to the bookstore. I have not gone to the cafeteria. I have not had my coffee. I have not had my joy ice cream. Forget about all this. I have not even walked along West Prashanti, East Prashanti. How can a Puttaparthi trip finish like that? As the thought came, to my right was a gentleman who said Sai Ram, and turned, it was Brother Prushti. I said, Sai Ram, Brother Prushti. And I said, incidentally, by then, we were trying to buy vibhuti packets from the store, and the store was also on stock tick. So there was no way I'm going to get vibhuti that day. So I saw Brother Prushti and I said, Brother Prushti, Sai Ram, I'm looking for some prasadam and, I need some vibhuti packets. He said, come with me. So he was about to give me a ride, but I do not know what happened. He said, can you wait here? I'll go bring it. So he comes back, he gives me some Laval Serval masks, and as much as a hand could carry, that much of vibhuti. So I go back, my parents were waiting outside, and I said, look, I got vibhuti, and I was happy. My father had a friend who was working in the trust. He met him, cricketing friends, they were talking, and he said, there's something that you need from the bookstore. I can give you a ride to the bookstore. So we had to go to the trust office for something. He said, one of you can come. Then we were looking, we were 4 of us. Then he said, no, come, all of us can squeeze in our car, and we went into book trust. So remember, I told you I want to go to book trust. But when he came to see us, he did not come with potlams of vibhuti. He came with two lots of vibhuti prasadam that can be couriered, which had like 9 plus 9, 18 packets of vibhuti. And he'd given it to us. Further, went into trust office. In between, my mother said, and I had one yearning. We had been as a center to Prashanti, and I had to leave for various reasons. And all of them had a beautiful tour of the super specialty hospital. And I heard stories, and I said, when am I going to get that? Maybe someday. Let's wait for that. And my mother went and told him, I want to see the super specialty hospital. He said, come, let's go. From bookstore, after going and shopping there and doing all the books and tapes and whatever to get, we go to super specialty hospital. They get the communication officer to come and give us not a 5-minute, 10-minute, it was 1 hour, 20 minutes of the super specialty hospital story, with stories of how Swami manifests and brings the strangest of people for treatment when they need to be blessed. These are mind-boggling stories. These are not stories that have been published. He says, as a PRO, I go and meet everybody. Then that finished, and Brother Srinivas Rao, who's been a speaker, he's working there. So I said, I want to say hello. I went and he gave me a big hug. And as we were leaving, we said Sai Ram, and we took some photographs. We were leaving. He said, wait. Navaratri has just finished. So here is the, not Navaratri, something else had happened, some homam, and all the prasadam have been kept, and he comes and asks me to open my hand. In my packet were kungumam, vibhuti. So from 2 packets of vibhuti, I came with 2 bagfuls of vibhuti. Like that, after last week when I reflected on Swami, I go to Chennai, meet a few people. First house I go, I'm meeting somebody accidentally, and they come back and say, this is prasadam from Shirdi. Fantastic, bonus. Shirdi Baba, thank you. Then after all that, I met Haryana, met a few people, all in bliss, being with Sai devotees. Just being there gives you the energy. And I go to Coimbatore. Since the day I got married in front of the altar, I have not set foot into Coimbatore Samiti. And again, the day looked as if I was going to give the flimsiest of reasons. Traffic was horrendous. And here I am in the mandir singing and meeting the same people who gave me the first chance to sing bhajans in Coimbatore. And I said, and I went to Nagasai Mandir not once, first to give an instruction for an Annadanam, next day for the Annadanam. Then another interest, I went and saw 3 aratis in a day. Everything that I spoke about manifested. I had a plane ride with one of the best views that I've had of Singapore. All I realize is all we need to do is to be in contemplation of him for us to realize how beautiful a rear view that you have when you look down through the mirror that I spoke about last week. Are we pausing and are we staying in gratitude to realize that? I think I have that gratitude, and I too make a solemn promise that anger shall be kept in bay with his grace. And the words that flow represents Sai Geetham and nothing else. And with that, thank you all. Let me end today on time. And that is all that I have to say. Remind yourself that it is his love, it is his grace that brings you to his fold. And it's not just him, he gives you a family, an umbrella that is so huge that you can withstand any rain, any thunder, anything that comes your way. And he's given you 3 letters in his name: service, adoration, illumination, and through seva, through bhajans, and through Balvikas. You can't get a simpler formula. Just be available. No matter what, anything else can wait. Opportunities from Sai does not come again. Sometimes they do, if you are lucky and you have a great bank balance. Otherwise, seize the opportunity. Be in the moment. Live thinking of Sai. Live feeling Sai. And become Sai. Sai Ram.
So beautiful. The musical notes of Sai. Every one of it is one of those notes. Little do we realize that. And when he plays the music, is we need to make sure that we are available. That's how he says he wants. That must also be Sai music only. That we must accept. Yeah. So we are all the beautiful, beautiful notes, and you so beautifully you have brought out this, because we tend to keep forgetting that, that these notes have no meaning unless they are, brought into a beautiful, harmonious piece of music by the Lord Himself. Suddenly we start thinking that, oh, I am that note that is so great, but on its own, the note has got nothing. Only when it is joined together to create that beautiful composition. And that is what Swami has brought us all together to keep experiencing Him. And so beautiful. Every one of those incidents took us back to those days when we were part of some of those and visualize Swami's presence. And yeah, surely I think we too will aspire, Venkat, to transform the way you have been able to learn these lessons. Sai Govind Satsangh series, we keep learning every week. Yeah, but we listen and then sometimes go back. Now we have to keep becoming those notes and be part of his composition all the time. Pray to Swami to grace us all, bless us all on this path. And the Sai Geetham exists everywhere. Wherever we look around, it is a Sai Geetham. Like you mentioned, that is what he says. Wherever you look around, whatever you see, that is what it does mean. But our ability to connect to that, see Swami in everything, I think that's all that is needed. Thank you so much for the beautiful song where we could really feel Swami, and we hope that there'll be many more such sharing that we'll get to experience. Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Thanks to all the Sai families for being part of this yet another Sai composition this week.
Sai Ram, everyone. Thank you for the
If
opportunity.
there are any questions, if there are any questions from anybody, we have a few minutes.
I don't think I'm competent to answer any, but
no questions. Yeah, just a comment which occurred in my mind. Actually, Brother Venkat, you have been very hard on yourself, and I believe this is part of a transformation. And I think the most important message that I need to take away from your wonderful talk, inspiring talk, is that we do not listen to your message and start looking at you and judging you. Rather than the message is for all of us to evaluate ourselves and weigh ourselves on the path of Swami. And I think you have taken a lot of courage, and you have been extremely hard on yourself, I must say that. But I think that is a good benchmark you leave for us, because it is very easy to be a judge of others, but it is very difficult to be a judge of ourselves, right? So I think you are leaving a very important message for us on a platform like this. And the other thing I would like to mention is, it is also very easy to come up with certain contrary views about anybody or the way people do. But it takes a lot of efforts, and you're really a person who has so much of zeal. You've been having that guilt of being angry. But I would like to say, even if angst is there, many people do not have the zeal as much as you have, and you try to prod and push things and bring it to the forefront and conclude it. So we need people and devotees like you who can just, talking is one thing, action is another thing, regardless of, and with all the, you have your own health challenges which you have overcome, and all that. With all that you're able to do and keep the engine running is not an mean task. So hats off to you, and don't be so hard on yourselves. You're doing very good. Okay, and you have done so many things in Swami's mission. So I think we all learn from you, brother. Okay, Sairam.
Yeah.
These are just the vibrations of the musical notes, Brother Gururaj. So, yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Brother Venkat.
Thank you,
If
everyone.
there are no further questions, I request you to conclude with the
Yep.
Samasta Loka.
I have no idea who the speaker for next week is. Probably somebody from Sai Geetham is what I pray and hope. And we will have this series from Sai Geetham for some time. It's important that we know that the bliss that happens to us by being with them happens with that bliss that comes into them through the Sai that is in each one of us. And I'm as curious as you are as to see who that person is for next week. It's going to be. But until then, praying to Swami that happens, and looking forward to seeing you all next Sunday. Despite the fact that it's Diwali Eve, we will still have our Sai Govind Satsangh, because what better way than to be in contemplation of him. So until next Sunday, loving Sai Rams to all of you. We'll finish with Samasta Loka.
Advance happy Diwali greetings to one and all.
Thank you, Anna.
Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
Let's finish with Samasta Loka. Samasta Loka Sukino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka Sukino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की। To sing for him.